Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 59, Euthyphro 12e. Socrates last time defined odd and even as unequal number and equal-legged number, much to Euthyphro's satisfaction. I don't see why. Those are very strange terms to use. They are applicable to triangles, not to number. But the point is that Socrates essentially used genus and specifying difference in order to create two species. In other words, odd and even were treated as the two species of the genus number. And a species is defined by its genus with a specifying difference, or more than one specifying difference in some cases. Socrates had suggested that the holy was a part of the just, and we can now understand, I don't think Euthyphro would understand, that Socrates is suggesting that holiness might be a species of justice, in which case we're looking for the specifying difference which makes this different from any other part of justice. And we would also infer that there are other species of justice, and all of those species together cover all the instances of justice. This is going far beyond what is necessary to understand this passage here. Essentially, all Euthyphro has to do here is give a specifying difference, even if he doesn't know that that's what he's doing. If he gives any description at all of the holy in itself, that will be an advance. The last time he described the holy as God-loved, which was not intrinsic to the holy, as we saw. There's just one practical problem which Socrates has to overcome, and that is that Euthyphro really doesn't have a clue what the holy is, and it's unlikely that on his own he would be able to come up with any description of the holy, given that he's already said that it was God-loved, and that has been refuted, and then Euthyphro complained about that. This is the reason why Socrates himself volunteered the possibility that the holy was part of justice. Socrates helps Euthyphro by reminding Euthyphro that there are other types of trials happening in the court of the Archon Basilios. For example, Socrates' own trial, which is about therapeia, often translated as impiety, but it is more like disrespect. This is in contrast to Euthyphro's own trial, which deals with murder. And both of these trials are in a court concerned with offences against the gods. So they are in the same field. So it really might be worth examining whether Tohosion has anything to do with respect towards the gods specifically. It's also worth seeing how Socrates manipulates Euthyphro. This is a very clear case of manipulation. So this is what he says. Peirode kai su eme huto didaxai to poion meros tu dikaiu hosionestin, hina kai meleto legomen meketh hemas adiken, mede asibeas graphestai, hosikonos ede parasu memathe kotas, tateusebe kai hosia kai ta me. You try to teach me which part of justice the holy is in such a way that we can even tell Meletus no longer to do us injustice and to write us a writ, basically accusing us of disrespect, asibeia, telling him that we have already learnt sufficiently from you things which are respectful and holy and the things which are not. mentioning Meletus makes it very clear that Socrates is referring to his own court case, but is now suggesting that the prosecution itself is an act of injustice. So now Euthyphro will help prevent injustice against Socrates if he tells Socrates what the holy is, because then Socrates could tell Meletus what the holy is, and Meletus will see the light and stop the prosecution. Euthyphro should have said now, but prosecuting isn't an act of injustice. It's through prosecuting that we finally are able to remove miasma, whether the defendant is found innocent or guilty. It doesn't matter. The court case itself is a form of purification. Euthyphro doesn't react to this because he's reacting to the very last thing that Socrates said, the things which are respectful and holy, and the things which are not. Socrates is accused of disrespect, and he identifies the holy with the respectful, and this is the clue that he gives Euthyphro for answering the question, what part of justice is the holy? We can already guess what he's going to say. He's going to say that it has something to do with the respectful. This is what Euthyphro says. Tuto toinun emoi kidoke o Socrates, to meros tu dikaiu enai Eusebestikai hosion, to periten ton theon therapean, to de periten ton anthropon, to loipon enai tu dikaiu meros. This part of justice, Socrates, seems to me to be respectful and holy. The part concerning the therapeia of the gods, while the therapeia of humans is the other part of justice. Therapeia gives us our word therapy, but therapeia can be anything from service to treatment, and I'll call it for now tending, a tending of the gods and a tending of humans. You can tend to the sick, just like you can treat the sick, and you can tend to the gods, just as you can serve the gods. So tending covers both treatment and service. We can already guess that Euthyphro is thinking more of tending in the sense of serving, because this has something to do with respect. We should note that Euthyphro has divided justice into two parts, one part concerning gods and one part concerning humans. And it's interesting that both parts are therapeia. He is not saying that therapeia is that part of justice dealing with the gods, but that justice altogether is therapeia, one part of justice being therapeia towards the gods, and the other part of justice being therapeia towards humans. Socrates had asked only for a definition of the holy, the hosion, but Euthyphro gives him two parts of justice instead. What is Euthyphro thinking about? It seems to me that Euthyphro has taken the cue given to him by Socrates that hosion has something to do with Socrates' case. Socrates is defending against a graphe asebeas, a writ of disrespect, and therefore the hosion as something respectful must be in that sort of case. This is naturally opposed in Euthyphro's mind to his own case, which is about murder. Euthyphro treats justice here as if it is only the court of the Archon Basileus, which treats two types of cases. This treatment is therapeia. So justice is therapeia towards gods, as reflected in the court case about disrespect to the gods, which is Socrates' case, and the other court case, which is Euthyphro's against his father, dealing with relationships among humans, specifically murder. Just to complicate things, we may recall that it was just a few moments ago that Euthyphro was regarding his own case as pertaining to the holy. He is the one who is prosecuting his father in order to remove miasma, pollution. And this is completely within the realm of the holy. But now, because Socrates has identified the holy with respect and has specifically connected this with his own case against Meletus, or rather Meletus' case against Socrates, now Euthyphro is quite happy to see Halcyon as only in that sort of case of disrespect towards the gods, while that leaves his own case as pertaining to human behavior. Euthyphro is prepared to argue in this way because for him this might work against Meletus, and Meletus might stop the prosecution of Socrates. If Socrates now happened to mention miasma, pollution, with reference to Euthyphro's own case, Euthyphro would immediately say, yes, there is holiness in my case as well. But for rhetorical purposes, this is quite clear-cut. One aspect of the court of the Archon Basileus deals with the treatment. It's the treatment of the gods. How do we treat the gods? We should treat them with respect. While the other part of the court of the Archon Basileus treats the behavior of humans in those cases which tend to offend the gods. The unifying factor in the court of the Archon Basileus is offending the gods, which is actually all about the holy. As for justice, there were many other courts in Athens dealing each one with a type of offence. This division of justice into two types of therapeia has to be seen not as a division of justice, but as a recognition of the two different roles that the court of the Archon Basileus had, as exemplified by the cases of Euthyphro and Socrates.